Three biggest winners and losers from the weekend. Before that, though, Bucks, you side at Charlie Curnow being the number one player in Mark Robinson's top 50. Who would yours be?
Yeah, I've had a bit of time to think of it. It is, you do have to give Robbo credit for just going bang, because you've got to plonk on a one in the end, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask that of me, I ended up writing 5 names down. I had 3 of them from one team: Gawn, May, and Oliver, and then I had Darcy Moore, Lockie Neal. So I had 5 players that I would have in that mix, and in the end, I would go for Max Gawn as the most impactful player in the competition, because he can go forward and with his aerial capacity, not just because of his ruck stuff. I'd just over Stephen May.
Max Gawn and Stephen May, the number 1 and 2 players in the game, according to Nathan Buckley.
No.
Just a couple of thoughts from the weekend, Bucks. I just thought I'd have a look at a couple of the winners and losers, and without going over old ground with the Bucks stops here, I just thought the Dinosaur Dogs was the biggest winner of the weekend for me. And when I say that, the skepticism that, and we spoke about it last week and asked you the question, could they possibly wheel out the 4 tools in this forward line? It's like nothing we've ever seen, I think. But it just seemed to work on the weekend. Now, granted, it was against North Melbourne. The opposition weren't that strong, but the chemistry and synergy they had and the positioning of the forwards worked. Now, at times, one of them was on the bench, but Ugle-Hagan and Norton, I mean, they can roam freely to the logos and get up the ground and use their athleticism and speed. Ugle-Hagan's improved a lot, and you can tell, and that sort of happened in the back half of last year, whilst Lob and Darcy can play closer to goal. Darcy's courage in the air is something we're going to be talking about this year. There's a moment he ran back with the flight of the ball in the third quarter, I'm going to say, and then took a really strong contested mark up the other end in the forward line. He's just perhaps the most unique player in AFL history. Now, that's a big statement, but has there ever been a 205, 208 centimetre forward or swing position player like him? I can't think of one. And
we're only just seeing dipping the toe in, aren't we?
Frightening. So and then the flow-on effect for Tim English, because Lob can do all of the forward half ruck work. English can rest. He doesn't appear to have a big engine. He can rest behind the ball, but he's also an excellent player, mobile ruckman who can mark the footy behind the ball. So it just gives them options. I thought it's a great story. Round 1 against Melbourne. Melbourne's defence we've spoken about already. How they're going to combat that? I think that was the biggest winner over the weekend. So the Dino Dogs, one to watch this week. Winner number 2 was the Tap Brothers.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep. They're not going to get 6 goals, Bucks, out of them, and you touched on it as well. But the luxury of having Gawn in particular around the ground, like often Melbourne just go long from a kick out to Gawn, like almost to the logo with the new kick out rule, and his ability to present. He took 4 contested marks on the weekend, but even if he doesn't, to your point, just to have that predictability to go there, and then around the ground, the target down the line. You've got him the number 1 player in the game. He may be the most selfless player in the game as well. To put his ego aside.
Do you think that but he did that with Jackson in 21. Do you think that that Melbourne's concept of this is that for Max Gawn to be as valuable and as damaging as he possibly can be for us, he's better being a 60%, 65% ruckman than he is being an 80 to 85% ruckman?
Probably.
So we need the second guy to come in and be able to provide that structure, and he's not just a pretty interesting second banana, but he's an elite player in his own right, Brodie Grundy. But does it just mean that Max Gawn is even better with a few more rests and more impact?
Well, he was on the weekend. 4 contested marks. He had 11 score involvements in a great display. You touched on this as well. We didn't compare notes before, but Crow's the contest king. So that they're better than most people think, Adelaide. They're not going to finish bottom 6. I reckon they'll challenge for the 8. They win contests. They tackle and pressure as good as anyone. They're a tough team. Like you come to Adelaide this year and play the Crows, you know it's going to be a hard-fought one. And a few teams got surprised by them last year. I remember Carlton coming here and getting smacked. Rankin laid 6 tackles. Rankin's never laid 6 tackles in his life. I looked at his numbers. Never laid 6 in his life. And in a practice game, Isaac Rankin is laying 6 tackles. So it is infectious, and they were my third biggest winner of the weekend. Quickly rip through a couple of losers. The woeful Weagles, they were awful at West Coast. It's hard to watch. The chip, that rubbish ball movement's back. Adam Simpson said on Thursday, we underperformed at home. We want to get the fans back and give them something to cheer about. That's a priority for us. Well, no Eagles fan is going to turn up to watch that rubbish. 116 marks for 51 points, 351 disposals, and they went inside 55 times in the first quarter. So he's got some issues. Gaff and Kelly, 2 big, highly paid players, 6 and 7 kicks respectively. So issues everywhere at the Eagles. Number 2 loser from the weekend, the Essendon Echo. Let's have a listen to Andrew McGrath.
I think just stick the course. We're improving every day. We're working really hard in the 4 walls and every day of training. And
less talk, more action from Essendon, please.
Yeah,
right.
it's and I think it's difficult as a leader to stand up consistently in front of that performance in the background. And once again, it is only early. We'll know a little bit more about the
last
Dons.
year, though.
4 to 6. Yeah, agreed. But we've got a new coach, and we've got a new style and potentially a new concept to put together. It's gonna take us 4 to 6 weeks to know what the Dons are gonna do in 23. But we know that this isn't a 3-month fix. This is a 3-year fix.
The Essendon Echo loser number 2. And lastly, the heavy-handed holding the ball. So, it's a concern that the league is disincentivising players from winning the football. And some of the decisions, you were a gasket at one of them on the weekend in the game that you did. Did they pay holding the ball for that? Okay. And you just sort of question how hot it was. And there was multiple examples of that over the weekend. So if you want to reward the tackler, they're just going to sweat off the player going for the ball, and the one that is trying to actually win it and put their head over it doesn't have an incentive to do so. So I'm waiting for official confirmation from the AFL, because no one speaks. No one from the umpiring department speaks. There's no footy boss. What is going on with holding the ball? Because clearly we are much hotter on it now than we were in the finals and last year.